Narcissistic relationships can be incredibly draining and confusing. At first, everything might seem perfect. Your partner is charming, attentive, and makes you feel special. But over time, the dynamic shifts. You start questioning your reality, doubting your self-worth, and feeling emotionally exhausted. This roller coaster is not a coincidence. It's a pattern typical of narcissistic behavior. What is narcissism? Narcissism is more than just self-confidence or occasional self-centeredness. It's a pervasive personality trait where an individual has an inflated sense of self-importance, a deep need for admiration, and a lack of empathy for others. In relationships, these traits can manifest as manipulation, control, and emotional abuse. According to the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, DSM-5, narcissistic personality disorder, NPD, includes symptoms such as grandiosity, a constant need for validation, and an inability to recognize or care about others' feelings. Not every person with narcissistic traits has NPD, but even mild narcissism can cause significant harm when it infiltrates a romantic relationship. Why is it important to recognize narcissistic traits? If you're in a relationship with a narcissistic partner, you might feel like you're constantly walking on eggshells. One moment, they may shower you with affection and praise, and the next, they may belittle or ignore you. This inconsistency is confusing and can trap you in a cycle of hope and despair. Recognizing the signs early on is crucial for several reasons. Self-protection. Knowing the traits can help you set boundaries and avoid emotional harm. Clarity. Understanding the patterns can help you make sense of the chaos. Empowerment. Being aware allows you to reclaim your sense of worth and make informed choices. Narcissistic relationships often start with an intense phase called love bombing. Your partner might shower you with compliments and grand romantic gestures, make you feel like you're their soulmate, the perfect match. Talk about future plans right from the start. This whirlwind romance feels exhilarating, but it's a tactic to hook you emotionally. Once they feel secure that you're invested, the dynamics start to change. The compliments fade, criticism creeps in, and you find yourself constantly trying to get back to that initial high. Why do we fall for narcissists? Narcissists are often master manipulators, skilled at reading what you want and need. They mirror your dreams and desires, creating a sense of connection that feels almost too good to be true. Once they secure your trust, they slowly reveal their true nature. People who are empathetic, nurturing, or have a strong desire to be loved can be particularly susceptible. Narcissists thrive on attention and admiration, and they often target individuals who are generous with their time and affection. Being with a narcissist can take a severe toll on your mental and emotional well-being. You may experience low self-esteem. Constant criticism can make you doubt your worth. Anxiety and depression. Walking on eggshells and the constant emotional highs and lows can wear you down. Isolation. Narcissists often isolate their partners from friends and family, making it harder to get support. Over time, you may start to believe that you're the problem. Narcissists are skilled at shifting blame, making you feel responsible for their behavior. This gaslighting technique distorts your perception of reality, leading you to question your own sanity. One of the most telling signs of a narcissistic partner is their insatiable need for admiration. At first, it might seem harmless, even flattering. They constantly seek praise and validation, making you feel like you're the center of their world. However, over time, this craving for attention becomes exhausting and one-sided. Why do narcissists need constant admiration? Narcissists have a fragile self-esteem that's masked by a grandiose sense of superiority. To maintain this illusion, they seek constant validation from others. Admiration acts like a drug. They need it regularly to feel good about themselves. When they don't receive it, they may become irritable, resentful, or even aggressive. They often brag about their achievements, no matter how small. Constantly fish for compliments. Make subtle comparisons to others to emphasize their superiority. Get upset when they feel overlooked or underappreciated. How this plays out in relationships. Initially, you might find their confidence appealing. They appear self-assured, successful, and charismatic. They might constantly remind you of their accomplishments, talents, or how lucky you are to have them. You may even feel proud to be with someone who seems so impressive. However, the dynamics start to change once you notice how disproportionately they need praise, especially from you. It becomes less about sharing achievements and more about demanding validation. If you don't give them the response they expect, they may accuse you of being unsupportive or ungrateful. For example, they might say, "You never appreciate how hard I work," even if you constantly acknowledge their efforts. Or complain, "Nobody understands how much I do for them," despite receiving praise. Over time, their need for admiration becomes a one-way street, where your feelings and accomplishments take a back seat. You may find yourself downplaying your successes to avoid making them feel inferior. The dangerous turn, when admiration becomes manipulation. If a narcissist feels their ego is threatened, they may manipulate you into providing validation. This can involve playing the victim. They might claim that no one appreciates them, hoping you'll reassure them of their greatness. Belittling you. They subtly put you down so that you feel compelled to praise them in response. Withholding affection. They may become distant or cold if you don't affirm them enough. This manipulative cycle leaves you constantly trying to please them to maintain harmony. You may even start to believe that you're not supportive enough or that their demands are reasonable. How to protect yourself. Recognize the pattern. Acknowledge that their need for constant admiration is unhealthy. It's not your responsibility to feed their ego at the cost of your own well-being. Set boundaries. Let them know that while you support and care for them, you also deserve recognition and respect. Don't take the bait. When they play the victim or belittle you, resist the urge to comfort them with praise. Instead, calmly point out that mutual support goes both ways. Seek support. Talking to a friend or therapist about what you're experiencing can help you see the situation more clearly. Narcissists are skilled at distorting reality, so an outside perspective is invaluable. Red flags to watch. For sometimes the need for admiration can escalate to more harmful behaviors. Public humiliation. They may criticize you in front of others to make themselves look better. Competition. They become envious of your achievements and downplay them. Triangulation. They compare you to others, subtly implying you're not good enough. If you start feeling like you're constantly competing for their approval or that your worth depends on how well you praise them, take it as a warning sign. Healthy relationships are built on mutual admiration, not one-sided validation. Why it's not your fault? It's easy to feel guilty for not meeting their needs, especially if they've convinced you that you're the problem. Remember, their craving for admiration stems from their own insecurities, not your shortcomings. You cannot fix or heal them by giving more. Your value doesn't depend on how much you praise or support them. Narcissists often target empathetic, giving individuals because they know such people are more likely to meet their emotional demands. However, constantly validating someone who never feels secure is an impossible task. The road ahead, choosing yourself. Understanding the excessive need for admiration is a crucial step toward protecting yourself. Once you see the pattern, you can start setting boundaries and reclaiming your emotional energy. Don't allow guilt to keep you trapped in a cycle of constant reassurance. Your self-worth doesn't depend on meeting someone else's unrealistic demands. One of the most defining characteristics of a narcissistic partner is their lack of empathy. Empathy is the ability to understand and share the feelings of another person. It's what makes relationships meaningful and nurturing. Unfortunately, narcissists struggle profoundly in this area. While they might pretend to care when it serves their interests, their true nature eventually surfaces, revealing a cold, detached, and self-centered approach to your emotions. What does lack of empathy look like? At first, it might be hard to spot. Narcissists can appear attentive and charming when they're trying to win you over. They may seem to understand your struggles, offering comforting words or appearing supportive. However, this often changes once they feel secure in the relationship. Common signs include dismissing your emotions. If you express hurt or frustration, they might tell you that you're overreacting or being too sensitive. Turning the focus to themselves. Even when you're sharing something deeply personal, they'll somehow make it about their experiences or problems. Lack of genuine comfort. When you're upset, they might offer shallow reassurances or simply ignore your pain. Blaming you for your feelings. Instead of acknowledging your hurt, they might accuse you of being dramatic or irrational. Indifference to your struggles. Whether it's a tough day at work or a family crisis, they seem detached, uninterested, or even annoyed by your problems. The core issue lies in their deep-seated insecurity. Narcissists view the world through a lens of self-interest. Their primary focus is protecting their own ego, which leaves little room for genuine concern for others. Emotional vulnerability in others might even make them uncomfortable, as it highlights their inability to connect on a deeper level. This lack of empathy stems from a profound emotional disconnect. Instead of forming genuine bonds, they view relationships as transactional, a way to get admiration, control, or validation. When they don't feel like they're gaining something, they often lose interest or become indifferent. Being with someone who lacks empathy can feel isolating and confusing. You may find yourself doubting your emotions. You start to question whether your feelings are valid since they consistently undermine them. Feeling alone. Even in their presence, you feel emotionally distant and unsupported. Experiencing self-blame. You might think, maybe I'm too needy or sensitive, because they make your emotional responses seem unreasonable. Suppressing your needs. To avoid conflict or criticism, you might choose not to share your feelings. This dynamic can slowly erode your self-esteem. When your emotions are constantly invalidated, you may lose confidence in your own perceptions and judgments. Real life. Example. Imagine you've had a tough week at work. You come home and express how stressed you feel, hoping for comfort. Instead, your partner dismisses your feelings. You're always complaining about your job. Can't you just get over it? Or they might shift the focus to themselves. You think your week was hard. I had to deal with way more than that. In both cases, your feelings are minimized or disregarded, leaving you feeling unheard and unimportant. If you're an empathetic person, You may naturally try to understand why they behave this way. You might make excuses. Maybe they're just stressed. They didn't mean to hurt me. But giving them the benefit of the doubt repeatedly doesn't change the reality. Narcissists rarely reflect on their behavior or consider your feelings because their world revolves around themselves. How to protect yourself? Acknowledge the pattern. Recognizing that your partner consistently lacks empathy is a critical first step. Stop trying to change them. You can't teach someone to care. No matter how much you express your needs, a narcissist will rarely change. Express your needs clearly. Use assertive communication to state how their lack of empathy affects you. For example, when you dismiss my feelings, it makes me feel unimportant. I need you to listen without judgment. Seek emotional support. Elsewhere, rely on friends, family, or a therapist who can validate your emotions and offer real support. Prioritize your well-being. Protect your emotional health by setting boundaries. If their behavior continues, consider distancing yourself or ending the relationship. Sometimes a narcissist might show brief glimpses of empathy, especially when they feel they might lose you. They might say all the right things, apologize sincerely, or seem genuinely concerned. This is often part of the hoovering tactic, drawing you back in just when you start to pull away. Once they regain control, the lack of empathy resurfaces. Don't be fooled by temporary changes. Real empathy requires consistency, compassion, and a willingness to understand your perspective, not just when it's convenient for them. Taking back your emotional power. When you realize that your partner lacks empathy, it's essential to reclaim your emotional autonomy. You deserve to be heard, valued, and treated with respect. Allow yourself to feel the pain, but don't dwell in self-blame. Their inability to care isn't a reflection of your worth. It's a reflection of their own limitations. Moving forward, dealing with a partner who lacks empathy can be emotionally exhausting. Start by acknowledging your feelings as valid and deserving of attention. Practice self-compassion, reminding yourself that you're not responsible for fixing someone else's emotional deficits. A key sign of a narcissistic partner is their tendency to manipulate and control. Initially, this behavior might seem like they're just protective or involved, but over time, it becomes clear that their actions are more about dominance than care. Narcissists use manipulation to maintain control, driven by their need to feel superior. Common manipulation tactics: gaslighting, making you question your reality by denying things they said or did. Example: you confront them about a hurtful comment, and they respond, "You're imagining things. You're too sensitive." Impact: you start doubting your own memories and perceptions. Guilt, tripping, making you feel guilty for expressing your needs or setting boundaries. Example: you try to discuss their behavior and they say, "After all I do for you, this is how you repay me?" Impact: you end up apologizing for asserting yourself. Silent treatment, withdrawing affection or communication to punish you. Example: you disagree with them and they refuse to talk to you for days. Impact: you feel isolated and desperate for resolution. Triangulation, involving a third party to make you feel insecure or jealous. Example: they mention how much a friend appreciates them, subtly suggesting you're not as supportive. Impact: you feel pressured to compete for their approval. Love bombing and devaluation, alternating between overwhelming affection and harsh criticism. Example: after a fight, they suddenly become loving, only to revert to criticism soon after. Impact: you're trapped in a cycle of hope and disappointment. why you might stay. Narcissists expertly switch between affection and cruelty, keeping you hooked. You may hope they'll change and return to how they were at the beginning. However, this cycle is intentional. The brief periods of kindness are a way to maintain control, not genuine change. How to protect yourself. Set boundaries. Clearly state what you will and won't tolerate. Document patterns. Keeping a journal helps you see the manipulation clearly. Trust your instincts. If something feels off, don't ignore it. Seek support. Talking to a trusted friend or therapist can give you perspective. Why confronting them rarely works. If you challenge their behavior, expect denial or blame shifting. They might accuse you of being controlling or unreasonable, turning the situation against you. Instead, focus on maintaining your own emotional stability and setting limits. Breaking free from control. Realizing the manipulation is the first step to regaining control of your life. Don't blame yourself for falling into their patterns. Narcissists are skilled at making you feel responsible. Prioritize your well-being and recognize that true love doesn't involve constant control and guilt. One of the most recognizable traits of a narcissistic partner is their grandiose sense of self-importance. Narcissists believe they are superior to others and deserve special treatment. This inflated self-view often leads to minimizing your feelings and achievements, leaving you feeling insignificant. What does grandiosity look like? Initially, their confidence might seem attractive. They often present themselves as highly successful, talented, or unique. However, as time goes on, their self-importance becomes overwhelming and dismissive. Common signs include constant bragging. They frequently talk about their achievements, even exaggerating their successes. Sense of entitlement. They expect special treatment and become upset when they don't receive it. Disdain for others. They look down on people they perceive as less important. Lack of accountability. If something goes wrong, they blame others rather than taking responsibility. Center of attention. They monopolize conversations, steering them back to their own experiences, how it affects you. Over time you may feel invisible. Your opinions and achievements are overshadowed by their stories, invalidated. They dismiss your feelings, making you feel unimportant, unworthy. You might start believing that you're not good enough as they constantly compare you to their idealized self. Exhausted. Keeping up with their constant need for admiration drains your emotional energy. Imagine you've had a small personal victory at work. You share it with your partner, hoping for support. Instead, they respond with something like, "That's nothing compared to what I achieved last week." Your moment of joy is instantly minimized. Why do narcissists act this way? Deep down, narcissists are often insecure. Their grandiosity acts as a defense mechanism to mask their own fears of inadequacy. By projecting an image of perfection, they try to convince themselves and others of their superiority. Their self-importance also serves as a way to control the narrative in the relationship. By making you feel lesser, they maintain dominance, ensuring you look up to them as more valuable or accomplished. How to cope with grandiosity. Acknowledge the pattern. Understand that their need to feel superior is not a reflection of your worth. Don't compete. Resist the urge to prove yourself. They thrive on feeling more important. Focus on yourself. Celebrate your achievements privately or with supportive people who genuinely value you. Challenge their narrative. If they belittle your success, calmly state, "I'm proud of my achievement, and it matters to me." Seek validation. Within, don't rely on their approval. Find self-worth through your own accomplishments and supportive relationships. When grandiosity turns toxic, if challenged, a narcissist may become hostile or dismissive. They can't tolerate feeling inferior, so they might criticize you to reassert their superiority, sabotage your success, downplay your achievements, or even try to undermine them. Seek new sources of admiration. If you're not praising them enough, they might turn to others. It's crucial not to internalize their reactions. Their inability to support you stems from their own insecurities, not your shortcomings. Choosing self-respect. Dealing with a narcissist's grandiosity requires strong boundaries. Don't shrink yourself to make them feel larger. Healthy relationships involve mutual respect and celebrating each other's accomplishments, not competing for significance. By recognizing their pattern, you can protect your self-esteem and focus on your own growth without being overshadowed by their need to feel superior. One of the most frustrating aspects of being with a narcissistic partner is their complete lack of accountability. Narcissists struggle to take responsibility for their actions, especially when it comes to negative behaviors or mistakes. They often shift the blame onto others or make excuses, leaving you feeling guilty and confused. Why narcissists avoid accountability? At the core, narcissists view themselves as flawless. Admitting a mistake or accepting blame threatens their carefully constructed self-image. To protect their ego, they develop strategies to shift responsibility onto you or others. They fear that acknowledging fault would expose their vulnerability, so they instinctively reject any notion that they could be wrong. Instead, they project their shortcomings onto you, making you question your own actions and perceptions. Common tactics to avoid blame. Blame shifting. They turn the situation around, making you feel at fault. Example, you address their hurtful behavior, and they respond, "You're just too sensitive. If you weren't so emotional, I wouldn't have reacted that way." Impact, you end up apologizing, even when they were clearly in the wrong. Minimization, downplaying their actions to make you feel irrational. Example, after a heated argument, they say, "It wasn't that bad, you're overreacting." Impact, your feelings are invalidated, leaving you questioning your own reactions. Denial, refusing to acknowledge that the problem exists. Example, you confront them about a lie, and they simply say, "That never happened." Impact, you feel disoriented, wondering if you imagined the issue. Projection, accusing you of the very behavior they exhibit. Example, they call you controlling when you set healthy boundaries. Impact, you feel defensive and uncertain, questioning your intentions. Playing the victim, turning the situation around to make you feel sorry for them. Example, you confront them about neglect, and they respond, "You just don't appreciate how much pressure I'm under." Impact, your concerns are sidelined, and you end up comforting them instead. How it affects you. Narcissists' refusal to take responsibility leaves you doubting yourself. You might question your perception. You start believing their version of events. Internalize blame. You think you're the one causing issues, feel exhausted. Constantly defending your feelings drains your emotional energy. Suppress your needs. To avoid conflict, you might stop addressing your concerns altogether. Being with someone who never admits fault can make you feel like you're constantly battling to be heard and validated. Over time, this can erode your self-esteem and make you believe you're the problem. Breaking free from the blame game. Recognize the pattern. Acknowledge that their refusal to take responsibility is a defense mechanism. Understanding this helps you see through their tactics. Stop accepting blame. When they accuse you unfairly, calmly state, "I'm not responsible for your actions." This affirms your boundaries without escalating the situation. Document incidents. Keeping a record of specific events helps counter their denial and gaslighting. Having evidence can reinforce your reality. Seek validation. Outside the relationship, talk to friends, family, or a therapist who can provide an objective perspective. Don't engage in their drama. Stay calm and avoid getting drawn into emotional arguments. Narcissists often provoke reactions to feel justified in blaming you. What if you confront them? Confronting a narcissist about their lack of accountability rarely leads to change. They may deny everything, insisting you're imagining things, blame you, claim you're the one being unreasonable, punish you, use the silent treatment, or escalate their behavior to regain control. If you choose to address their behavior, focus on expressing how you feel without expecting them to accept responsibility. Frame your statements around your own experiences, such as, "When you dismiss my feelings, it makes me feel unimportant." This approach minimizes their ability to deflect or accuse you of blaming them. Choosing yourself over their games. Understanding their unwillingness to take responsibility helps you reclaim your sense of reality. It's not your duty to fix their behavior or constantly defend yourself. Prioritizing your own well-being means recognizing that their blame shifting is part of a toxic pattern. Remind yourself that you deserve a relationship where both partners take accountability and respect each other's feelings. By setting boundaries and focusing on your own growth, you can break free from the cycle of blame and guilt. Breaking free from a relationship with a narcissist is both liberating and challenging. After enduring manipulation, gaslighting, and constant blame, it's common to feel lost and uncertain about who you are. The final and most important step in healing is reclaiming your identity, rediscovering your worth, rebuilding your confidence, and learning to trust yourself again. Why recovery feels so difficult? Leaving a narcissistic relationship doesn't instantly restore your sense of self. You've likely spent a significant amount of time being manipulated into doubting your perceptions and minimizing your own needs. The emotional aftermath can include confusion, questioning whether the problem was really you, guilt, feeling responsible for the relationship's failure, low self-esteem, believing you're unworthy of love or respect, isolation. After being cut off from supportive relationships, you might feel alone. Step 1. Acknowledge your experience. The first step toward healing is validating what you went through. Acknowledge that you were in a toxic relationship and that your feelings are real. Write your story. Journaling helps you process what happened and see the patterns of manipulation. Talk to someone you trust. Sharing your experiences with a friend, family member, or therapist can provide validation and perspective. Join support groups. Hearing others' stories can remind you that you're not alone and that recovery is possible. Step 2. Reconnect with your emotions. Narcissists often train you to suppress your own feelings to maintain peace. Now is the time to rediscover what you genuinely feel and think. Practice self-compassion. Remind yourself that it's okay to feel hurt, angry, or confused. Meditation and mindfulness. These practices help you tune into your own emotions without judgment. Creative outlets. Expressing your feelings through art, writing, or music can be cathartic. Step 3. Set healthy boundaries. One of the most empowering acts post-relationship is learning to say no without guilt. Define your limits. Be clear about what behaviors you will and will not accept from others. Practice assertiveness. Use statements like, "I don't feel comfortable with that," or "I need some space." Prioritize self-care. Protect your time and energy, focusing on activities that nurture you. Step 4. Rebuild your self-worth. Narcissists often make you feel inadequate, but your value does not depend on their approval. List your strengths. Write down qualities you like about yourself and achievements you're proud of. Set small goals. Accomplishing tasks, even small ones, can boost your confidence. Surround yourself with positivity. Engage with people who genuinely care about your well-being and celebrate your successes. Step 5. Redefine your identity. It's time to rediscover who you are without the narcissist's influence. Explore new hobbies. Try activities you've always wanted to do but couldn't because of their control. Reconnect with old friends. Reach out to people you lost touch with during the relationship. Focus on personal growth. Invest in your skills and passions, whether through classes, reading, or volunteering. Step 6. Learn to trust. Again, after being deceived and manipulated, it's natural to feel wary of others. Trust is rebuilt slowly and through consistent, respectful interactions. Take your time. Don't rush into new relationships. Allow yourself to heal first. Communicate openly. Express your fears with trusted friends who understand your journey. Observe actions. Rather than just listening to words, notice whether people follow through on their promises. Step 7. Embrace your independence. Freedom from a narcissistic relationship means you no longer have to walk on eggshells or seek validation. Celebrate small wins. Each step you take toward reclaiming your life is worth acknowledging. Reflect on your growth. Notice how far you've come since leaving the relationship. Create new routines. Establish habits that center around your happiness and well-being. Moving forward with strength. Healing from narcissistic abuse is a journey, but every small step counts. As you rediscover your sense of self, remember that your strength lies not in forgetting the past, but in learning from it. Use your experience to build resilience and compassion, both for yourself and others. Remind yourself that you deserve relationships where love is given freely and respect is mutual. You have the power to choose who enters your life and how you are treated. Embrace your autonomy and know that you are worthy of healthy, supportive connections. Final thought. Your story is not defined by what you've been through, but by how you choose to move forward. Reclaiming your identity after narcissistic abuse is not just about surviving. It's about thriving, rediscovering joy, and living authentically.